Hello everyone, this is Sandeep Singh, Assistant Professor, SHM Department, BBD University. Today in this video we are going to discuss about the cheese. This is the part of our syllabus of second semester and the second unit. In the second unit we have a basic commodities. In the previous video we have discussed about the milk and its byproducts. So cheese is also one of the byproduct of the milk, and the commonly byproduct which is generally easily available or generally made in the home is cream and yogurt, which we already discussed in the last video. Now in this video we are going to discuss about the cheese, which is another one of the uh, byproduct of milk and commonly used in the industry, and there is lots of variety of cheese available in the market, and they are highly consumed in the hotel industry, and the cheese are very good for health. It's provide many other things. Basically cheese is came from the you can say the various types of cheese, and the processing of cheese was came out from the European countries, and generally they have a good production of milk of various animals, generally buffalo, sheep, goat. So their consumption is not up to that much, and milk is not able to be transport to other countries widely. So what they did the processing of milk, so they can get the another substance or byproduct which can easily be stored and transferred or delivered or export to other countries. So they did these things and they become masters in this, and they produce variety of cheeses which are very good for health. They have developed a business for this, and you can say a industry totally based on making of cheese is and many good quality of cheese of the world is coming from the European countries. We will discuss in this the definition of cheese and how we make it, how the cheese is made. Then we will study various types of cheese available, the classification of the cheese, and the examples of the best cheese from the world. So here we start with the cheese definition. In this, first we will see the definition. It is a definition of cheese is the fresh or ripened product obtained after coagulation and whey separation of milk or cream or partially skimmed milk, buttermilk, or a mixture of these products. So cheese is basically a byproduct of milk which is obtained after the coagulation of milk, which is done with the help of natural enzyme present in the milk. And as the milk become curdles by these natural enzymes, the cheese is taken out, and the liquid part which is left after that we call whey, that is also having a good nutritional value. Many gym instructors or many other doctors suggest you, or weight gainers will suggest you that go for the whey protein. So basically this whey liquid, which we also call a butter milk or chach in Hindi, is very good for health, and it is highly consumable. And after further processing it, they are coming in the various powder form, so that the people can consume and fulfill the requirements of protein which their body wants. So this is what the definition. We have one other saying about the cheeses also. It is not known when cheese making was first discovered, but the cheese of yesterday was just a curd and whey. So before the cheese making, the people generally know the byproduct of the milk is sometimes due to the a highly activation of the microbial growth, the milk become curdle and the liquid is known as whey. So only two things people generally know. But after the processing industry come, and after the various research, they find out they can make a product also which is good for health and naturally made from the byproduct of the milk or the milk. So here again a brief description about this. A curd is the solid custard like state of milk achieved when milk coagulates due to acidification and additions of enzymes. So basically the curd is nothing is an custard like stage of a milk which is achieved by coagulations of milk, which is done due to the acidification or due to the enzymes. To make fresh cheese in India, what we do, we acidify the milk also, and this is done with the help of putting some vinegar or some fresh lime juice. so that the milks become curdle, and this curdle stage or custard stage go for the further processing, and this processing produce the India's freshest cheese, which is we also known as name of cottage cheese or paneer. And the way is used for making curry in India, or for giving it as a for drinking for further steps. Now, what is whey? The whey is the liquid portion of milk which develops after coagulation of the milk protein, contains water, milk, sugar, albuminous protein and minerals. As I told you that this liquid which is left after the curdlifications of the milk, the liquid which we known as a whey, is also very good for health, because it's having milk protein, milk sugar, natural milk sugar, albuminous protein, which is very good for your bodybuilding and body requirements, and the minerals they have. So this is all about the definition of cheese and the whey, which is another byproducts of the milk, which I have already discussed. Now coming with this, we are going to know the ingredients which we need to make a milk. So the base or the mother of all in the cheese making, the ingredient is milk. The most important ingredient in the cheese is the milk. The milk of many mammals can be used, but the milk of ruminants is the best. This is because it contains high level of the milk protein, casein, which is required to provide an adequate coagulation. So milk is one of the basic product, or one of the basic requirement to make a cheese is milk. And milk can be used of various mammals, but we used to have a ruminants mammals milk very much important, because they contain very high level of protein, casein protein, which is very much requirement to make a perfect coagulation of the milk, curdling of the milk. So we need a good quantity of milk protein, that is casein, and this casein, so hope you are able to know that the milk protein is also known as casein, and the casein is very much required for the further processes of making cheese, and this the curdlification of the milk protein is known as casein, with the help of casein. Okay, sorry. Now coming with the starters, there are two types, which are the mesophilic and the thermophilic cultures. Starters are basically the bacteria or enzymes or microbes which we need to give to the milk so that they start the coagulation of milk or curdling of the milk. So there are two types of starters which we have. One is mesophilic and the second is thermophilic culture. Culture is basically bacteria or enzymes which we provide them to start the working on the coagulation of the milk. It is usually bacteria, but fungi can play a role, such as in blue cheese, which I already told you. The three characteristics of the starters culture of the primary importance in cheese makings are, so the good qualities of culture are written here: ability to produce lactic acid in the curd, ability to break down the protein, ability to produce CO2 when applicable. So we need, when we choose the starter or culture or enzyme or bacteria, which is very much required in this, we need to understand one thing very much important in this, that the culture or the bacteria or enzyme which we are providing to the milk, they are able to produce lots of lactic acid in the curd through milk. The second, they are able to break down all the protein which is present in the milk, and the third is to ability to produce CO2 when applicable, to produce maximum of the CO2. So these are the quality of the starters. So one ingredient is milk, second ingredient is culture or starter, which helps in breaking down the milk's protein, which help in producing lot of lactic acid, which help in producing the CO2. Okay. The third important ingredients for making cheese is coagulant. Coagulant is another type of bacteria or enzyme which is generally present in the milk, and it is also present in the stomach of the mammals, where sometimes due to the reactions of these bacteria or these enzymes, the coagulation done in the stomach or the stomachs of the mammals. So that coagulant is rennet. So we need to understand that one of the most important bacteria, generally we ask what type of coagulant or what type of bacteria is used to, and which type of bacteria is present in the milk which curdles the milk, that is rennet. We need to understand this. Rennet is usually the coagulation enzyme used. Rennet is an enzyme which acts on proteins and cause it to coagulate. So rennet is the enzyme which act on the protein and digest the protein easily, or coagulate the protein very much easily. It is mostly extracted from the fourth stomach of young ruminants. The main enzyme contained is rennet is renin. So I already told you that the rennet enzyme is present in the stomach of the young ruminants, and these enzymes consist of renin, which are able to break the protein easily. When it do in the stomach of the mammals, so it digests the milk, or when we take it out and use in the milk, then it curdles the milk protein and make it to the curd formation. So the next important thing is salt for the making of cheese. So salt is sodium chloride is added to most varieties of the cheese to give it flavor. The very basic purpose of addition of salt is to extract the flavor of the cheese, which salt do very well, and also it helps in the preservation of the cheese item so that it can survive for a longer time of period. The quantity and the method of addition depend on the recipe. The quantity of salt which we are going to use is totally depend upon the method and the stage where we are going to put the salt. Depending upon the variety of cheese, what type of cheese we are going to produce, on that we decide what when to put the cheese and how much quantity of salt is going to be put it. So it may be directly added to the milk or curd pieces, rubbing into the finished cheese, or immersed in a brine solution. So there is the two ways of using salt when we prepare a cheese. The first way is to put in to the salt directly and rub it into in a proper way so that it mix with the cheese. There is a one way, and the second way is that when the cheese is fully made, what they do, they pass the fully made cheese to the brine solution, so it helps to develop the aroma of the cheese, and the second, it helps in the preservation. So if you want a cheesy salted cheese, we put in the primary stage of making of cheese, we put it in when we require to make the milk curdle, that time we put, or when we don't want salty cheese, what we do, we pass the cheese through a brine solution for some times. Okay. The next is the color. The receptness determined if coloring matter should be used. Color is totally depend what type of cheese we are going to produce. Generally too much of color is not suggested. Natural colors which comes out after the coagulation, that was the preferable thing, but some, for the uniqueness of some items or for some traditional cultures, they put the colors. So this is all the major ingredients which we required and their work for making a cheese. Now coming with the chemicals, CaCl2 is a frequent added to aid coagulation and reduce amount of rennet required. CaCl2 is a chemical which we generally use to avoid the rennet, because availability of rennet is also very shorter, and to get the rennet we do need to do a lots of hard work. So CaCl2 is one of the most important chemical which generally acts on the protein of the milk to coagulate it very much. Sodium or potassium nitrate, inhabitants of pathogen microbes such as the gas forming Clostridium or Triobutyrium. Actually, to produce CO2, we use sodium or potassium nitrates, in not depending upon the pathogenic microbes growth. So we are many of the times the control of the pathogenic microbes are not into the hand of cheese maker, so it leads to the deformities in the cheese. So what they do, nowadays they are generally using the chemicals in replacements of all microbes, cultures or pathogens, so that they can control the aging, the flavor, the maturity of the cheese with their help. So this is all about the major ingredients which we need for making the cheese. Now coming with the steps which we required to make a cheese. So here comes the manufacturing process. the steps which we require to make a cheese. So here comes the first step, that is milk treatment. First of all, we need to take a pure, clarified or clear 100% hygienic milk, and then we proceed for that. So for milk treatment, what we do, method to reduce microbial numbers: clarification, beatification or microfiltrations. Here are the three steps which we use to get a milk which we can control it to produce a proper cheese according to us. Clarification, that clarification is done on the basis of to control the bacterial fugation and the microbial filtration. These two things were done or achieved when we do the clarification. How we do it? We do is the thermalization, pasteurization or heat treat. So as we discussed in the last video, or in the milk video, in the unit 2 video, first lecture, that milk was treated with the method of pasteurization or thermalization or heat treatment. What we do, it totally depend on what method we need to do it. And now today's world, they are coming with the very fast and quick method, in which this is the heat treatment, in which we keep the milk on a temperature of 55 to 65 degrees Celsius for only 16 seconds. The pasteurization method is what? In this we put the milk on 63 degrees Celsius for 30 minutes. So there are many ways are coming to treat the milk with the ultra heat treatment, and these ultra treat ultra treat treatment having a very few seconds through which the milk was passed out, and during the passing of these milk through these higher temperature, what will happen, the many of the microbes, pathogens and other microbes which were present in the milk were finished out, and then they take out the milk. This will definitely increase the standard of the milk and the life of the milk, so that milk can be used easily for the further processes to make a cheese. Now coming with the second step, after getting a pure milk or a milk which is perfectly suitable for making cheese, the second step which we involve is the acidification. What is acidification? As we discussed, we put some bacteria which generally acts on the protein of the milk and produce the CO2 and other things. The bacteria feed on the lactose in a milk and produce lactic acid as a waste product. As we all discussed, we need such type of culture or pythons which directly acts on the lactose, which is lactose, a type of you can say a type of glucose which is present in the milk, that is a lactose, a natural sugar which is present in the milk. So bacteria work on that, they start eating the lactose and digesting the lactose and producing the lactic acid as a waste product. The acid is required to assist coagulation, means why we need to have this production of lactic acid in the milk, which is again a waste product for us. But why it help us? The lactic acid help us in assisting coagulation. It help us the other bacteria to work efficiently and to produce coagulations of the milk. The second, it promotes syneresis. Syneresis means the activations of the bacterial growth. They start a cycle, prevent growth of pathogenic and spurious bacteria. The acidity also helps to kill some of the bacteria which can damage the flavor and aroma of the cheese. So they also do this and develop cheese extra flavor and colors. So that's why the lactic acid or the pathogens or microbes which can easily work on the lactose, the natural sugar which is present in the milk, so that the lactic acid can be produced easily, and this lactic acid assists in getting the coagulation of the milk, promotes syneresis, the process of decomposition of lacticity, and the process of making coagulations help the bacteria to do it very fast, and promoting of CO2. This is what the syneresis and prevents, and also it prevents the growth of some bacteria which are very harmful or can be dangerous to, which can spoil the taste and quality of the cheese. and it develops the extra flavor in the cheese. That's why we need to produce the lactic acid. LAB are grouped by four categories namely. So these are the works which was done, or you can say the principles of the lactose acid, which or you can say enzymes which work on this. The principle of metabolites, optimum growth temperature, start composition, formation of incoagulations. So these are the principles on which these worked. Okay, so these are the some species. In this slide you can see these are the some species which was used by the various cheese producing companies for their unique flavors and taste. Generally sometimes it was asked, so we need to read it out, or we need to learn that which type of cheese was cultured with the help of which type of species or enzymes to produce the good flavors of this lactic acid and further steps. And here comes the second microbes. So we need to know white mold, blue, green, to provide different colors. To provide colors, we still use some of the bacteria which provides the color as well as some different flavors, matures the cheeses. So here in this slide we have some name of this. Now coming with the third stage, after getting the lactic acid produced, the third stage comes, that is production or coagulation of the milk. So here casein, which we know that is a protein of milk. Casein is a protein of milk, exists as a micelles in milk. During coagulation, the casein micelles sticks together. The natural tendency of casein is to clump together. They are hydrophobic. So as we all know that the protein which is known as casein, which is present in the milk, they start coagulation, and the coagulation means they comes together and they make a firm strands, or you can have semi-hard particles which stand together. So as these coagulation, basically what happens during this coagulation, the proteins come together and they are hydrophobic, means they cannot survive, or they want to get separated from the whatever water content which is present in that, or you can say the hydroxygen component which was present in that. So that's why they coagulate together, they come away from that, and the milk part is down towards the layer, and the coagulating part will come up in the water contents. Two factors prevent their sticking together in normal milks. These are kappa, casein on the surface of the micelles, and a negative charge of the micelles which make them repel each other. Why it is not done in the normal milk? Why? Because casein is present all the time in the milk, and other microbial growth are also done during the if milk is kept somewhere. So why not that particular time they do? There is a two reason. One they have a kappa casein, a type of casein or a type of protein which was on the surface of the milk or micelles. They have a negative charges, so they repel each other. But after producing the lactic acid and the enzymes which start digesting the protein casein, what they do, they come together, they make a strand, and they get away from the hydrogen, or they are hydrophobic, so they start forming a hard substance, semi-hard substance. After getting this, now coming with the fourth step, after getting this semi-hard substance, what they do, they filter the semi-hard substance, and they make it into the shape which they want, a round or whatever shape they want. They put it into the fine muslin cloth, and they kept this muslin cloth into the stainers and into the molds in which they want to put the cheese to get their size, their shape, and they start pressing it. So whatever quantity of water is in that, they come out from that and they get a hard shape. And depending upon the type of cheese which we want to produce, then we start putting the pressure according to that. If we want very hard cheese, we crush it out very hard, so that there will be no zero, you can say a zero type of water content will be left at all. So depending upon the type of category of cheese we need, we do the pressing. After the pressing, we cut it out the cheese, and it further go for the aging and other process. So here comes the step is usually accompanied with the heating the curd. Cutting the curd allow whey to escape, while heating increase the rate at which the curd contains and squeezes out the whey. So here this is not set for the curd and setting for the cutting. Here what they do, after these bacterial growth, what they do, they take all the milk into a copper vessel which was heated very much, and this copper vessel having heating treatment, and during this heating treatment the coagulation start the heating treatment doesn't mean they get a very high temperature. It is a normal temperature, you can say a bit more than the normal room temperature, due to which the curdling process start very fast. And when this curdling process start very fast, after some times they will see that they will check with the cheese maker, the master cheese maker will see or that the curdling process is done. And when they feel that the curdling process is done, they can cut it with the help of a knife. They can cut that curdle thing. They filter out the curdle thing, and they left out the whey which is left out in the container is taken out. So this is the process of pressing and cutting. Now coming the next step, cooking the curds. The curds, no, this is again the same steps. They are telling the process. The curds are cooked after allowing to sit for about 15 minutes with stirring to prevent the curdling or from clumping together. So what they do, they when they put this milk which is cultured or with the enzymes and bacteria, the milk was poured into the container, and there they allowed it to settle it out for 10 to 15 minutes. After 10 to 15 minutes, during that time they regularly whisk the milk so that they does not settle on the ground. And after that they start heating up the container, due to which the coagulation start very much fast, and they continuously stir it so that it does not settle or it does not get any clumping type of structure. After this, what they do, they put a muslin cloth in that, and that muslin cloth, after straining out the whey is get strained, and the curdle part comes into the muslin cloth, and they allow to make a form, one structure that can be any structure. A round ball type of structure is ready, which they take it out, and they start as I told you that they start putting the pressure on that, so that the maximum depending upon the type of cheese we need, we put the pressure, and the pressure will give us the various type of cheese which is available in the market, that is hard, soft, semi soft. These are the classifications of the cheese which was done during this stage. What the actually heat do, the combination of heat and the developing of acidity cause syneresis, with the resulting explosion of moistures, lactose, acid, soluble minerals and salts, and the whey proteins. So this what the heat generally do, they speed up this syneresis process, due to which the coagulation do very fast, the moisture content get loose, lactose and acid which was present, they get easily soluble, and soluble minerals and salt which was easily get into the whey protein, and they collect the whey protein. The curd is cooked until it is 34 degrees Celsius for soft curd. I told you already, depending upon the type of cheese we need, we do the different stage of cooking as well as the pressing. Here the curd is cooked until it is 34 degrees Celsius for the soft curd, cheese or as high as 39 degrees Celsius for very firm cheese. I already told you the temperature doesn't mean that it goes to the very above temperature. It is above the room temperature, or to get a soft curd they do it with the 34 degrees Celsius. The cooked curds are made to sit for a while so that they sink in the remaining whey. Floating curds after a while means there is the possibility of having gas producing contaminations in the starters. This makes separation of curd from the whey difficult. So this is the process. Now after getting this into the structure where they can cut the cheese, they do the salting. I already told you the salting is done on 2 stage depending upon the flavor which we want to develop in the cheese. The first stage and where we put the salt during the curdling process, and the second is the when we get the full cheese made, we pass through these cheese into the brine solution, and these brine solution generally helps to produce the to develop the aroma, and their life is also increased. Now coming with the salting. So almost all cheese is salted by one of the three methods: before pressing, surface salting, after pressing, or a brine salting. Okay. So there are the three ways or three steps where we can do the salting. Before pressing, when we want to press, before that we put the salt and we rub it properly, or we can mix it properly so that each and every part of the coagulated milk or curdled milk have the salty flavor. So there is a stage before pressing. Surface salting means when we get the cheese, not to give a good flavor of salt throughout the cheese. What they do when they get the cheese, when they get the coagulated part or a hard part, they put the salting on the surfaces, so that will generate some aroma, increase the life, helps in aging, help in ripening, help in maturing the cheese. And the last stage, or you can say the last method through which we can introduce the salting, is the brine salting. How we do the brine salting? When fully cheese is made, we pass the cheese through a brine solution, and this brine solution and bath generally helps to develop the aroma from whatever it can do, and increase the shelf life. What are the purpose of the salt? Promote further synthesis, slow acidic development, check spoilage bacteria, promote controlled ripening and flavors, develop salty flavors. So this is the purpose of putting salt, or you can say the work of the salt is to promote further synthesis, the process of synthesis to promote the further working of the bacteria, enzymes in that, and slow acidic development. It controls the bacterial growth or the working of the bacteria, and it also check that those bacteria which are harmful, so they after getting the salt in that, these bacteria were killed easily. It helps in controlling this ripening and the developing the flavor. So these are the purpose of putting salt in the making of cheese. So there is a different stages where we can put the cheese depending upon the flavor which we want to develop in the cheese. So here come the next step is the pressing. As already we have discussed, pressing the curd into the mold, assisted in some way removal, and compact the curd pieces into the shape of the mold. Whatever shape we want, we put the curdled milk into that and start pressing the molds. And it depends on what types of cheese we need. We need a hard cheese, we need a semi-hard cheese. We do the pressing according to that, and the molds are again depending upon the different shape which we want to give to the cheese. We use the molds, different molds. The temperature of the curd and the extent of pressing are critical to the quality and the appearance of the final cheese. So this stage is very much crucial, and the person who are very expert, we generally call them a master cheeser, is the person who decide what type of cheese we want to develop, and the pressing is done on its guidelines. Because here if we pressed a cheese which cannot have a good moisture, and we press it very hard, the cheese become very hard, and a cheese that cannot be survive or cannot develop the aroma. So pressing is also a very artistic thing which is done with the technical knowledge. It's not only that we need a shape and we start making it molds, pressing it out very hard so that we get a proper shape. It's not only the shape, it develops the aroma, it develops the further texture of the cheese. So we need to look into that. The fifth stage is ripening. Cheese ripening is the breakdown of protein, lipids and carbohydrates, acids and sugars, which release flavors, compounds and modify cheese texture. The principal ripening agents are: ripening is the stage where we try to get the maximum flavor, aroma, texture in the cheese, and it helps in developing these things. And the ripening the cheese will help the quality of the cheese. So what generally how it works, we know in this slides. It is written here: the cheese ripening is the breakdown of proteins, lipids and carbohydrates. Whatever protein, after pressing this stage, after making the cheese getting a proper structure, when we send the cheese into a ripening stage, whatever amount of lipids, protein and carbohydrates are left, ripening is the stage where we give the rest to the cheese, so that these the breakdown of these lipids, carbohydrates and protein starts, and which give the flavor, texture, aroma to the cheese. So this is a very important stage, ripening of the cheese, very important stage. The principal ripening agents. What are the principal ripening agents, or the agents, or the bacteria which was present after getting the coagulation and getting the shape? The principal ripening agents is milk enzymes. The milk enzymes like plasmacin, lipoprotein. These are the some enzymes which are naturally present in the milk. After doing these stages, still they are present in the milk. They do the digestions of protein and the lipic acids which was present in that, and the carbohydrates which develop the aroma. Second, there is a lab culture, means there is a lab culture means bacteria which was generated in the labs, which they are also induced in them, so that they can do the work and they help them to develop the taste and aroma. Rind formation, the outer cover of the cheese occurs during the ripening stage. Okay, as we seen the outer surface of the cheese, generally people say that there is a wax coated on that. It is not wax or something like that. It is nothing. It is a rind formation, a structure, a hard structure which develops during the wrapping stage. That rinds is you can also say that covering stage. Generally we do the waxing also to give the shelf life to the cheese product, but this rind formation, which is a natural process while making a cheese, aging or ripening stage, it's give a structure which helps the cheese to accumulate its flavor, taste and aroma, and keep it safe for a longer period of time. The basic, here we comes to know what are the basic functions of rinds. The basic function of rind is to protect the interior of the cheese, which I already told you, and allow it to ripen uniformly, and it allows to ripen it uniformly. Salts play an important role in rind formations. Heavy salted cheese developed a thick, tough outer ring. Okay, so as we know that we put the salt on various stage, we can put the salt on various stage. So as we need the different texture or a different physical state of the cheese, we put the salt according to that. Here it is written, if we want to have a hard rind outer of the cheese that can contain its aroma and flavor and texture, we put lots of salt, which further in these steps develop the rind, which helps to contain the cheese textures, flavors and aroma, and help in wrapping the cheese without getting any further, or without getting any destruction on the basic quality of the cheese. Now coming the stage of coloring. Goat and sheep milks are whiter than cow milk due to the lack of carotene, a type of color pigment, hence their cheese is whiter. Cow milk may be whitened by using legal whitening agents such as titanium dioxide. So depending upon the quality, nature and the style of cheese which we are producing, we do the coloring, and coloring with can be done with the help of chemicals, and we also do it with the help of natural coloring agents. So depending upon the requirement, we do it. Now coming with the classification of cheese, which we already saying in the PPTs, that cheese was classified, and it is done on when we do the molding and pressing of the cheese. So here come the cheese. How we classify? We classify on the basis of the moisture content which was present. In the previous video of milk and cream, I told you that creams are classified on the basis of fat content which was available on the cream. The fat content will decide what type of cream is that. So here the cheese was totally classified on the basis of moisture content which was present in the milk. So here comes the classification. Extra hard, in this the moisture content is less than 41%. The hard cheese having a moisture content in between 49 to 50%. Semi hard cheese 54 to 63. Semi soft having more than moisture content of 61 to 69, and the soft cheese is having a more than 67% of moisture content. So on the basis of moisture content, their classification was done: extra hard cheese, semi hard cheese, semi soft cheese, and soft cheese. Okay, and one of the factor is also the type of fat which was present on the milk. That is also that, like skimmed milk or a hard skim cheese which having a less than fat content of 10%, low fat having 10 to 25, medium fat having 25 to 45, full fat having 45 to 60. Basically it is the classification on the basis of only the moisture content which we have. Curd or wrapping the cheese, video बना रहा है. Curd and wrapping the cheese which is to be kept for sometimes under certain condition before consumption is possible. So here comes the mold, curd or mold wrapped cheese. The curing is achieved by molding growth. Uncurd, wrapped or fresh cheese. This is a cheese which is ready for the consumption shortly after the manufacturing. So here are some examples. In this video we are going to see some example of the cheese which was very much famous with their name and their manufacturers. Just like for the soft cheese we have cottage cheese, we have cream cheese, we have brine. Brie is one of the famous. These are the microorganism which was used. Then we have soft wrapped cheese, Camembert, Limburg. So we need to know the origin of these cheese also, from where they belongs to, like blue cheese, brick cheese, gorgonzola, semi soft wrapped. So these are the Roquefort, Edam, Gruyere. So we need to know. There is a chart, we will discuss the chart also. So in that way it is written where we get all these cheese. And the conclusion of this is, cheese is a fermented milk product made from the curd produced when water is removed from milk and its coagulates. It can be made from a variety of milk such as goat, sheep and buffalo, etc. So this is all about the cheese, how we get the cheese. It is a byproduct of milk, how we get the cheese, and the type of cheese and the steps involved in making the cheese, and various enzymes and other things which was involved in this. Okay, thank you.